Welcome to On the Chain.
I want to play a short little video. It's a short little video of you questioning Chair Gary Gensler of the SEC. Then I want to ask you a couple questions about it. Let's take a quick look at this.
I think it might have came up. You were Hillary Clinton's CFO in the campaign, right?
It's part of my history.
Were you? Yes or no?
In 2016.
Did you facilitate the payment for the Steele dossier since you were CFO of the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Sir.
Yes or no?
Sir.
Yes or no?
That was not.
You're under oath, Chairman Gensler. Yes or no?
I know. It was not something I was aware of.
I yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
So it was something he wasn't aware of. So Congressman Donalds, was a line of questioning that was not expected because there was a lot of great stuff that day. It was towards the end of the hearing. What was your thought on his answer there?
Well, first, my thought is that, yeah, he knew he paid for it. He knows that he did. He knows he can't admit that he did. And look, at that high up in the Hillary Clinton campaign, you knew it was phony information that they put into the intelligence community. Now, after the Durham reports come out, that's exactly what occurred. They were laundering phony information into the intelligence community. And I think the real danger behind what Gary Gensler essentially wrote the check for and Hillary Clinton orchestrated was this I don't want to say it. This was the start of the weaponization of the federal agencies. And you could really clearly point to this time period. Hillary at the time thought she was a possibility she could lose. She ended up losing. And she was trying to do anything she could to get a grip on power and to hold on to power. And because Donald Trump came along and snuffed that out, they decided to turn the agencies, not just against him, but it's just also a continuation of what they were doing to the Tea Party movement back in 2014. And that periodically the federal agencies have been engaged with when there are Americans who don't play ball with the status quo.
And it's even a little more troublesome that these are unelected bureaucrats. At least through our election process, we can remove somebody. But here's an unelected bureaucrat sitting there making big decision that has had rippling effect, on our country. But it seems like, Chair Gensler isn't a stranger to having issues and doing the wrong thing and being on the wrong side of history. So we saw that, coming out, perfectly in regard to funding the dossier and trying to really, help impede or stop, Trump's first run. But now we also see Chair Gensler on the wrong side of history when it comes to digital assets, cryptocurrency, and he's lost major case after major case. The big one that we talk a lot about has been with the company Ripple and in relation to a digital asset, XRP, which has now been really deemed through, the court as a non-security, but he's finding himself on the wrong side of history. If you could reflect a little bit on that and kind of taking from where you were at that moment, that was almost like the beginning, of his downfall, it seems like, but he's still sitting there. He's an unelected bureaucrat having a negative impact on us.
Well, look, when the Ripple lawsuit actually finally came down, we, on the Financial Services Committee, we thought that the court would do something similar to what they actually did. But that being said, the real issue at the SEC, and to be clear, it's not just the SEC, but it's probably the most vocal, is the fact that Chairman Gensler is taking authority Congress never gave him. And you got to understand, all these agencies, their powers are built upon a legal framework that Congress has passed at some point in time throughout American history. But we've never given the SEC any ability to regulate blockchain, to regulate digital assets, whatever format might be, stable coin, cryptos, whatever. We've never given that authority because Congress still has not weighed in on what any of, the stuff even is, one, or two, what's the regulatory framework going to look like. If it were just up to me, I would never put the SEC anywhere near digital assets. Because the SEC's regulatory purview is very specific to publicly traded entities. And, they have a hard enough time getting that right. most of the time. So why give them an entirely new financial industry, financial tool when they can't seem to even get their initial job correct most of the time?
Yeah, another part of that interview too that we did show, but you also pressed him on the whole, what were they thinking in 1933 and 1934 about climate disclosure, right? So this was another big dust up, another overreach about climate disclosures. And where is this coming from? I know there's a driven narrative, but where is that coming from, especially not even putting it out for at least 90 days to get some public opinion on it?
Well, again, this is some of the real issues we're having with all the federal agencies, but I'll keep it focused on the SEC and Gary Gensler. Congress has not stipulated or spoken about climate change or even climate disclosures. The most we've done, quote unquote, is that you have some renewable tax credits that exists in the tax code. With what Joe Biden did with the tax credits, it's roughly $1 trillion if you listen to Goldman Sachs in tax credits for solar panel and windmill plants, et cetera, development in the United States, electric batteries and things like that. But we've never come out with a climate disclosure piece of legislation that will give the SEC the ability to now try to quantify or make companies quantify a climate disclosure. The most destructive of them are these scope 3 disclosures, because it's basically like, if you're a company with human beings and you happen to do business with anybody on the planet, is there a carbon footprint to that? And it's really just insane at this point, because then you could really go down the line of saying your scope 3 disclosure is anything you come into contact with. I mean, that's just patently absurd. The purpose of financial disclosures, is to give investors credible and material information with respect to their ability to invest in public companies. That is the whole purpose of disclosures. And the reason why I questioned them about the 33 and 34 Securities Act is because nothing in there actually gives the SEC the ability to do what Gary Gensler thinks that it should do. But like I said, this is something that we're seeing throughout the federal agencies. And let me add this point, because what a lot of the agencies like to do now, where you're really seeing the full weight of the bureaucratic state, is they will come out with a paper or an opinion, or they will start the process on rulemaking. And the entire purpose is to not actually ever really see it come to fruition, but it's to get companies to jump through that hoop ahead of time so that they would have the ability to avoid the investigative arm of these agencies, because the investigations are time consuming, they're very costly, and you don't want to have to deal with one of these extended examinations. So what do you do if you're a publicly traded company? You see Gary Gensler put up a potential proposal, man, let's just get in compliance so we don't have to deal with this. And so they're doing it by threat of potential investigation as opposed to an act of Congress. And that stuff has got to stop.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.